Good evening. Hand tonight is pocket nines. So we have a poster, posts under the gun, and after him, so he could have basically anything. He didn't raise, so I'm going to take out aces, kings, ace king, probably ace queen, queens, jacks. You can just kind of exclude a lot of those. So we have a limp, a limp, a limp, and then it gets to me. All right, so we've got the poster and then 3 limps. And just judging by these players, these all seem to be loose passives. Out of 32 hands, he's played 47% with a 9% pre-flop raise. He's played 48%, 19% pre-flop raise. This player is going to be tighter. He's 25% with a 7% pre-flop raise. So, he might be tighter, but he still looks to be passive. So it's on me. And the question is, what kind of hands should we be playing? What kind of hands should we be raising? So right now we are on the button. And if we look at just my button raise, or my button range, that's what it looks like. Against all of the limpers, I do think we should be raising most of our hands. And the question is, should we raise with all of these hands? And I'm not sure. I guess it comes down to, what are these players going to do? If I raise, how likely is it that I will get all of them to fold? Definitely likely that they don't have big aces, because I do think they would have raised. So, if we just go under the assumption that with all of these limpers we're going to raise this range, we have to come up with a bet size that would accomplish our goal of trying to get a lot of these players to fold. Is this too wide? I mean, we're playing 31% at this point, and it might be. It might be better to dump some of these hands. Maybe your suited kings. Maybe some of your offsuit aces. Maybe those weaker aces. Get it down to 23%. But right now, what I've done is just this, button range here, and I've raised it. Now I raised it to 9 big blinds, so 6, 7, 8, 9. 6 is the standard, and then we've got that's 7 for 1 limper, 8 for 2 limpers, 9 for 3 limpers. So we actually made it pretty big, and we're going to apply pressure. Now this does kind of look like I'm trying to steal it with a weaker hand, but I would do the same thing with aces, kings, ace, king, queens, ace, queen, so forth. So I think that's perfectly fine. Now, who calls is the guy that limped, or I'm sorry, the guy that posted, and then the second limper. So let's build ranges for them. All right, so the first guy limped, and we could say it's basically all minus some of these premium hands. We'll say something like that is what his raising range would have been. And then once we raised, question is, what would he call? So I think he's out of position, and I do see players call suited aces. I don't think he's going to be calling these offsuits, unless he's just a super loose player. So I'm going to take those out. I'm going to take those offsuit connectors. I think I'm going to take those out. We'll leave those. I mean, if he posted under the gun, he's probably not going to be that good. Let's do all of those, the rest of those broadways. For our suited hands, I'm not sure if the one gappers are going to be calls. So he may be like that at 17.3%. So this is going to be my range. Let's get that. This is 31.2%. I have 414 combos. This is our first player, and now we have a limper. So he's limped, or he's played 47% of hands. This is a mid-position player. He's limped with previous limpers 1 out of 2 times. He's raised 1 out of 7. I think just in general, he's going to be pretty loose. We'll get rid of our Jacks plus. Probably maybe something like that. We'll give suited aces. Maybe something like that. So 14.3% might be his. He may have been a wider limping range, so he may have had a little bit more of these broadways, offsuit broadways, maybe suited one gappers, and then once I raised, he just calls with the tighter range. He folds some of it. So we see at the flop ace jack 5. Now, if you think about it, this is going to hit my range. I mean, I have a lot of these aces. I'm in position. You would raise with the aces. And you could see that once we compare these other two players' ranges, I do have equity. I've got 38% on this board. So what happens is villain 19 checks, villain 21 checks, all right, and now it's on us. The pot's already 30.5. Villain, 41, so just under 1.5 x pot. We've got 56, so almost 2 times pot here. So stack to pot ratio is no more than 2. We didn't, how do we play it? So here, I kind of think that we could play it aggressively. I'm not sure if I would bet large with our sets and 2 pair, because I think players are just going to dump. Even if they have a weak diamond draw, I think they're just going to dump if I go ahead and shove them all in. I like the betting, applying pressure, and I think that you can apply pressure with hands like top pair. I think we do lose some value though when we do that, because I think if we bet a little bit smaller, you might be able to get an ace 10 to call, maybe ace 9 to call. You possibly get king jack, although with the stack sizes, I don't think that's going to happen. So what we're looking for is really these flush draws to call, and then top pairs to call. So what can we bet? I think we are going to c-bet for value these hands. I think for bluffs, we are going to be doing this. These are kind of like a semi-bluff ranges. We are going to be betting our flush draw as a bluff. I think gut shots, 2-card gut shots are going to be betting. These flush draws and pairs are all going to be betting. So we've got 60%. Now we are like 3-1 bluffs versus value. Maybe kings and queens could be bet for value, which increases this. Which, I mean, we would do that if we think jack, like a jack queen, jack king is going to call at least once. So maybe we missed, and also the diamond. So perhaps these have a little bit of value. What about some of the middle pair? Middle pair could be bet for some value. Again, diamond draws could be calling. It would be a thin value type situation. So I kind of think that's going to be my c betting range. I do think we could probably get away with like a half pot bet here, and get calls. We want to encourage more calls on this board. So that's what I did, which I like it. And villain 19 folded. So this player folded, and I think if we bet, he's probably just gonna continue with top pair plus in his flush draws. I don't see gut shots calling, not on this board. So he's only continuing 26.7% of the time. We're getting a lot of folds. So, that kind of justifies having, more bluffs than value in my range. What about villain 21? He calls. So what is he going to call with? He's buying 47.9. His fold to C bet is 67% when out of position, but 0 when he's in position. So I do think he's going to be calling with some draws. And I'm going to say I'm going to leave all of these combo draws in there. I'm going to leave the flush draws in there. And then I do think he might be calling with the middle pair just to see what I do on the next card. I think he'll probably just fold pocket pair below the second card. So he's continuing with that. So let's get this. That's their flop range. Percent of previous range is 46.8, and he has 73 combos. My range is this. So we've got 242. Whoops. 242, and here we have made a mistake here, pasted it in the wrong spot. There. All right, so we have 71.4, and he calls 46.8. All right, what's our turn? Turns a 2 of diamonds. Could hit either of us. So we got ace of diamonds, jack of diamonds, 5 of spades. All right, now on that board, on that 2 of diamonds board, you can see now that our equity switched. So now we only have 44.7 and villain has 55.3. All right, so what is villain gonna do? So I do think he's probably gonna just check call or check raise. So he checks, and now it comes back to us. All right, if we made C bets with all of this, what do we continue C betting with? So I think we can C bet with 2 pair sets and pluses. I think top pair now it becomes a check. Even ace king, ace queen. I think ace king, ace queen is, and probably ace 10 is going to look to call a river bet. Possibly 2 pair, maybe we can check call. Yeah, so check now and then call a river bet. I do think a set, but I do think 2 pair and set should be betting because, what if he had ace king of diamond, so ace of clubs, king of diamond, or king of diamonds, queen of clubs, something like that, where he's drawing to a diamond. He'll call one more bet, might call all in on that. So we don't really want to give a free card on those. Ace king, ace queen, definitely I think we're going to be more likely to bet if we don't have the king or queen of diamonds. We're going to be likely just to check if we do have the king of diamonds or queen of diamonds, because again, if we don't have it, then it's a possibility that he has that lone diamond and would call a bet. Whereas if we have it, it just makes it less likely that he would actually call. So I think the nut flush gets checked. Second, third nut flush gets checked. I think we're betting for value. What hands are we going to be betting as a bluff? So some of these flushes, if we do all of our gut shots, that's 13.87%. And we could do 1 card gut shots, and that gives us about a 50-50 value to C bet ratio. You can see that the flushes, they're in there with those gut shots. I think we're going to be betting as part of the combo draw, as a flush draw and the gut shot draws. I don't think it's wise just to bet the flush draw here. So I think that's probably going to be my C bet range here, 50-50. If he folds 50% of the time, hey, that's great. But it comes down to the bet. So I would be betting 41.3. I'd be betting him all in to win the 41 plus 3.3 and the 60.9 big bets that are currently in the pot. So 40%. If he folds more than 40% of the time, then this is an auto profit spot. I didn't bet. I didn't bet. So let's see here. Let's take out. Let's change this to green. I do think we're gonna lose some of these. Let's do this. Let's take out the gut shots. Yeah, let's take out those gut shots because we would have been betting them. So that's our checking range. We checked. He checks. All right. So he still has 100% of his range. And he has 73 combos still. We did not bet. So we have 52.9% of our range, and we have 126 combos. All right, and the river card is a Jack of Clubs. All right, so once that Jack of Clubs hits, you can see that my equity went down even more. Villain checks us, and once we checked, I have to think that he is not going to be betting anything. I think top pair has a reason to call. I don't think he has a reason to kind of bet and get value. I think three of a kind has a reason to bet. So with his top pair hands, I do think it's like ace 2 to ace 10. He may be checking to try to get a call. Three of a kind, those are the jacks. I kind of think he would have bet those. So he checks, and now it's on us. What do? I think we're going to be betting anything top pair plus. I think if we bet, I think we could get called by any of the aces. So most of the time with their top pair, we're just betting that he's going to call with a weaker ace. So I think that's going to be our range that we bet. I checked, and he shows king 10, which really, really strange. So I won the hand, and the question is, where is that king 10? So it comes down to this flop. We bet, and he calls. He would have had king 10 here. If he had king 10, he had all of those. He was calling then with gut shots. All right, so he had a call with a gut shot. And then when the two of diamonds hits, he checks. And that means that he still has his 100% of his range. And then Jack of Clubs hits. And I think what you can see is that with that hand, so he calls, and then the two of diamonds hits, and now we're still ahead because he had those gut shots, which I didn't figure he'd have them. Kind of thought with how he plays, 67% folding out of position, he probably would have just said heck with it with the ace on the board. We check it, and then I don't think I'm going to change. I still think he's going to be betting his three of a kind, probably just checking the top pair hands. He check calling, so now he's got nothing 33% of the time. If we bet top pair, I think we can get called. Any of these weaker, the pocket pair below top card, I'm hoping he just has a missed diamond, so missed king queen, that he called, and he had king 10, so not sure I necessarily like how I played it. I mean, I think as we work through it, it kind of makes sense, and the question is, do I have those nines in my range? And I don't, because when we look at it, I wasn't really supposed to c-bet them. Pocket pair below second card, I did, and I think when we do, then you can see that we are kind of starting to bet a little bit too much, 80%. We would need to find more bluffing hands, which further drives up our c-betting range. So I think versus several opponents, I kind of think this pocket nines is kind of a hand that we can check and kind of go from there. If they check again on the turn, maybe we could fire out a bet to try to pick it up, or check behind on the turn and bet on the river. Obviously, that jack isn't going to be the greatest of cards, but if we're ahead on the turn, then that jack doesn't really change much. So, not sure if I like the c-bet. All right, hope you enjoyed this. Look tomorrow for another hand.